Hey, hey, everybody. We're filling up the room. Gonna give it just a brief moment as people make their way in. Awesome to have you here. Boy, awkward starts always. We're gonna give it 60 to 120 seconds. The timer's going, so you can hold me to it. But this is spectacular to have you all join. I see lots of people still coming in. So when that slows, we will get going. Otherwise, for now, get yourself a delicious beverage. Today, I'm choosing a LaCroix, nothing but nature's finest peach pear water. We, again, will get rolling here in just a brief moment. I see some folks are still coming into the room, and it is so cool to have you here. So thanks very much. 30 seconds. That's about all I'm going to give it now, and then we're going to hit it. I think most of us have been on Zoom calls of some sort pretty regularly the last few weeks. It's awkward to watch myself all the time and then to just stare at a computer screen, but I will have you know I am wearing pants today. They just happen to be sweatpants. So it's like being on a Zoom call is like having a mullet. It's like business up front, but party on the bottom. So that's where we find ourselves. All right, people have made their way in. We're going to have some more folks that are going to join us, and really cool to have you all here. Already getting some comments. So Katie Joe, thank you for laughing at one of my awkward jokes. I'm going to get started here, and I want this to be hopefully as value driven and given as we possibly can be. Gang, my name's Eric Hatch out of Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm the proud business owner of 25 different businesses at this point, almost all relating to real estate. But the funny thing is that social media is like this common theme across the board. I want to let you know that I built my entire business with social media as a major backbone of it. So I'm going to give you some strategies, some pointers, some inside information to what has led us to be one of the top 50 real estate teams in the country, as well as me being recognized as a top real estate coach in the industry. This is not real estate specific by any means. And in fact, we have people from all industries watching and digesting this. I saw somebody from the pastoral world. I've seen insurance people and mortgage people and designers and decorators and yoga instructors and everything in between. That's all joining us right now. And I promise you that this will give you jam-packed content in the best sort of way. So a couple of things. First off is if you have a question, if you have a comment, go ahead and put it in our chat box. It'll be my job to answer these actively as we go. And if I can't get to them all, I will happily respond to you there afterwards. So please make this interactive instead of just presentational for me. That helps a lot and keeps a fun flow of it. The second thing is I want to actually encourage you to take notes. Grab a notebook and a piece of paper. Those are both grab a pen and a notebook, as well as consider grabbing yourself maybe just some notes on your computer. But I have some really vital information here that I think will help you up your social media game. And realistically, there's I think 3 or 4 types of social media users. The first would be the check it every week or 2 user. I'm not even going to talk about people that don't use social media because there's not many of them that exist. Wouldn't you know, there's a number of people that have social media accounts, but rarely, if ever, engage in them. That's the first audience. The second audience is what I would refer to as my wife. Very active on social media by liking and hearting things, but rarely ever actually produces content. That would be somebody who is engaged, but not engaging. The third would be the regular poster, somebody who is posting every once in a while. You know, maybe it's 3 or 4 times a week. You're sharing some content or you're just posting something that you're passionate about. That LaCroix just made me burp. How about that? And the fourth person is probably the hyperactive user. that would be me. That would be maybe some of you who are using social media as an intentional tool for your business. And so my goal is, if you're over here, I want to take you to here. If you're here, I want to take you to here. And I want to give you the best possible wins in order to have you walk away saying, boy, that was worth my time. Thanks, Eric. You are a lovely man. So that's my goal, is for having you to reference me as a lovely man by the time this is done. So I'm going to be sharing my screen a few times. We'll be bouncing back and forth. I hope to not make you dizzy, but I do want to do everything I can. So we're going to hop to it here. We're going to cover 3 rules for social media. 3 rules that are so important. The first rule, please write this down if you're taking notes, is that you need to know where to post. Posting is important, yes, but we need to know, where are we going to post? If you're going fishing, you need to know the hot spots, right? You're not just going to go and, if you're like an amateur fisherman, you're going to just drop your line in the water and hope that somebody nibbles. But instead, I want you to be an educated social media savant, if you will. And I want you to do everything you can to do it, and to do it right. And so take a look here. We have absolutely positively a massive amount of people using social media. There's over 2 billion, that's billion with a B, 2 billion Facebook users. YouTube is the second biggest social media platform. And most of us don't think of YouTube as a social media platform. We think of it as a place to digest. I have a buddy who does wholesaling. It's like traditional real estate, but he never purchases properties and like never represents clients. He just kind of like introduces deals. He has a webpage. His name is Brent Daniels. It's called TTP, Talk to People. And he just surpassed 20,000 Facebook fans, Facebook followers, or I'm sorry, YouTube fans and YouTube followers. As well as I have a buddy, Miles Montplaisir, who's known as the You Betcha guy. In the last year and a half, he's grown to, I think, over 100 million views on social media now, when you look at all the channels. And YouTube is like that major avenue for it. So YouTube is huge. The next one I want to draw your attention to is Instagram. You can see that there's over 1 billion Instagram users. For some reason, LinkedIn didn't show up on this list of when I pulled this from the old internet. But in doing my own individual diving, we see pardon me, we see that LinkedIn has over 750 million users. So I added that to the list as well. And then of course there's TikTok. And if you haven't engaged in TikTok yet, you're really, I think, missing out. There's a huge amount of people who are on TikTok. In fact, they're growing probably as the fastest social media platform. It's 60-second short little videos or less, and it involves a lot of dancing and humor. I find it captivating. When I'm putting my son to sleep, it's the only thing that can keep him in his bed. He's 3 and he wants to just run around. But if I put on TikTok and we just watch people dance and be silly, and he loves it. Garrett Anderson asking a great question. Are there any statistics about age ranges for the people using these social media platforms? Yeah, great question. Facebook used to be that young, hip demographic. And now Facebook is really, boy, my age. I'm 40 years old. There are a lot of people who are making their way up, and they're finding their way so that social media now is, Facebook is for old people. You don't see many Gen Zers who are using Facebook. You instead see a lot of Instagram, a lot of TikTok, a lot of Snapchat. LinkedIn would be more for professionals, and YouTube is kind of across the board that people use it and digest it. I see that Dean said TikTok for realtors. No, I would challenge that all day long, Dean. I see some realtors doing it and doing it well. You're targeting a different audience though, and that's what you have to understand, is that your medium on all these platforms needs to change, and you can't just post the same thing on all platforms. It doesn't work, because as Garrett had asked, the age range, we have different audiences. Different genders spend more time on different platforms as well. Instagram and Pinterest are very female driven, as an example. And so you have to understand that you have different audiences, and you can't just post the same message everywhere you go. But I do want to jump back here, because there are some really valuable pieces as we talk about understanding that 79% of people in the United States are on social media. they have a social media platform. Understand how many of those are like, when we're looking at our demographics, how many people don't have a smartphone or a computer, and how many people aren't of the age where they're going to have that yet. Maybe they're like 12 and under. And so when you think about that and digest it, almost everybody has social media, and it can be used really well for your business. Let's continue here. Rule number 2 is, again, rule number 1 is you need to know where to post. And rule number 2 is you need to attack content in 2 ways. The first way is to engage with it, and the second way is to produce it. I love this breakdown because when you're thinking about social media, we oftentimes think that social media is important to be the most impressive person out there by producing great content. But the reason why I put this in order is because it's an intentional way to grow it. You need to engage with it first if you're ever going to have it work well. Now, full transparency is my background before I ever got into real estate full-time, as I was in ministry. And I had to be the most, I had to be the most engaged person in the lives of the kids that I had the privilege of working with. I had to spend time learning about their life, investing in it, and letting them know that they are important. And that's the whole purpose of engagement with social media, is to let somebody else know that they are important. Before you can ever have a following, you first have to be a follower. The Gary V's and the Grant Cardones of the world who master it on social media first were super engaged in a specific sort of way. I want to share with you some strategies on how you can become engaged in social media. The first thing that you need to do is to engage with content. As you're looking at this here, you need to first, again, be interested before you're interesting. And Gary Vee speaks of, it's called $1.80 strategy. The purpose of that is to leave your 2 cents and to post on other people's places, on their comments, on their posts, on their webpage, to post literally 90 times a day. That sounds over the top, but I promise you, when you see Gary Vee's net worth and his network, you know that that came with a whole lot of energy only through social media. You don't actually have to spend any money on social media in order to make money on social media. In order to develop a following, you first need to be a follower. And so, how to find that content to engage with? You need to search neighborhoods, cities, events, and businesses. I don't care what platform you're on, you can search any of that in that little search bar. You can type in Fargo, North Dakota, if that's where you're from, and it'll show you 2 different types of posts. It'll show you the most recent post, and it will show you the most popular post. And it should be your job to leave a meaningful comment on that. Again, if you're going to do the $1.80 strategy that Gary Vee recommends, that means you leave your 2 cents 90 times. That means 90 meaningful comments a day. Also, search for hashtags that are things of interest of yours and engage with conversations of your friends and fans. Here is one of the biggest ahas that I've had, and it comes on my birthday. My birthday is March 1st. I just turned 40 years old, and I pay attention to what happens on my birthday every year. Wouldn't you know it, of my 5,000 Facebook friends, emphasis on the air quote there, of my 5,000 Facebook friends, I had about 300 people post on my Facebook wall. Happy birthday, dude, HBD. You know, like it was short, it was easy for them, but it was not memorable for me. If we're going to get a high level of engagement, we can't do what everybody else does. I then can tell you that in my Facebook Messenger, as well as in my text message box, I probably had 30 or 40 messages. Awesome. I received 7 phone calls and 3 handwritten notes, a total of 10. And I can tell you each person that did that. Now, my birthday was 35 or 40 days ago, so that's easy to remember. But that's the point of this, is if you're going to be engaging and stand out, you either have to put something so funny or meaningful, or you have to do it at that next step. And Facebook gives us and tells us when people's birthdays are, and we get a chance to be exceptional and to stand out by simply going that extra way, that extra mile. So if you're thinking, how do I use social media to engage and engage well? Well, every time, like I see it, it's my buddy Eric's birthday today. When I'm done with this, I'm going to call him and I'm going to sing him a very terrible birthday song that I sing to everybody else. And it's not the traditional happy birthday song. And then we'll have a conversation for a few minutes, and I'll just show him that I love him and appreciate him. Why? Because I love and appreciate him. I don't have this like business savvy that says, I better call Eric so he's going to buy or sell a house with me. But wouldn't you know, he's been this like, you have your first tier friends, like the people that you call every week or every month. And then you have your second tier friends of people that you like appreciate and engage with in social settings, but you don't go out of your way with. And Eric was a second tier friend. Sure enough, he used us to sell and buy his house a couple of years ago, simply because I consistently stayed in front of him by going and making social media happen in person. So Trisha is asking a great question about TikTok. Boy, I could go on a tangent about TikTok and how to use it. But frankly, I don't fully understand it. It is something I'm working on learning and we're using in our businesses here in the future, but I don't have a full mastery of it yet. Thanks for the comments and questions. Please keep them coming. And gang, we're going to dive back in here. Let's jump here and take a look at other ways that are so important that you take social media offline. That was the birthday example that I shared with you just a moment ago. This communication pyramid that you see on the screen, this comes from the book, The 7 Levels of Communication by a good dude named Michael Mayer. We brought him to Fargo a couple of years ago to speak at a conference that we were doing with Hatch Coaching. And he has a really great insight on how to give and build great relationships and to use that for your business purposes. You can see at the bottom there that the base of that pyramid are things like advertising. I remember in college when people said, well, let's put up some posters on a bulletin board and that's how we're going to get people to attend our event or to sign up for something. I did it a few times, but I knew that it didn't have any success that was associated with it. And then direct mail, man, that is an expensive medium and it works if you're consistent with it over time, but you can't send out one mailer and expect people to jump on it. When you move to electronic communication, I would put email at the bottom of that. I then would put Facebook Messenger and text messaging at the higher part of that. And I would put social media communication kind of in the middle of that. You see, that still falls in the information zone where you're not necessarily engaging and influencing. You're instead just scratching the surface. The best way to use social media is to actually take it offline and take a look. Handwritten notes are huge, followed by phone calls and events and seminars, finally by one-on-ones. If you can take social media offline and make it as a one-on-one resource, you're setting yourself up for a great level of success. Katie Joe, yeah, we can certainly have these slides emailed out to you afterwards. Great question. One of my great team members, Jess, will send that out to make sure that everybody gets what they are looking for. So great question. So let me say this. I want to make sure that you're understanding that social media is about both engaging with other people and with finding and creating content that people are going to engage with. And so let's keep jumping back and forth here. Hope you're not getting dizzy yet. I want you to see here that you need to also find a way, if you're looking to grow your strategy, to produce content. The very first rule I want to encourage you to follow is the 80-20 rule. Please write this down because it's super important. I think that 80% of your posts, no matter the platform, need to be fun, engaging, and I'll give you those breakdowns of how to do that, but they shouldn't ever talk about your work. Let's say you are a realtor like me. If I post about real estate all the time, I become so unattractive to the people that are following my social media content. And instead, I think the rule of 80-20 applies, where 80% of your posts should be about anything but work. And the 20%, you should be mentioning work, but not selling what you do. Again, I'll give you some further examples here in just a moment. But I want you to know that the purpose of how you're producing content and what you're doing online is to tell a story. This is a narrative, and videos and photos help to enhance that as well. Check in, tag people, use hashtags, utilize all these tools and resources to best tell that story. You see, if you're going to be someone who gets a massive social media following, Our business page for Hatch Realty is about 8,000 followers. My personal page, I have about 2,000 people in purgatory where I haven't accepted their friend request, and I have 5,000 friends. But I mean, I don't know many of them, right? And I've been able to utilize social media as a way to now produce really meaningful, consistent content. And I can attribute 6 figures of revenue at minimum annually just to social media. Just by staying in front of people, I can attribute so much wealth and gain to using social media. So I want to show you exactly how to do that. We're going to take a look here, jump into the screen share. First thing we need to do is in producing content is that I think, again, selling is usually ineffective. I made this post yesterday. I simply shared the Hatch coaching post of how to crush social media. And you can see I had 3 comments and 3 likes down at the bottom there. It tells you 3 comments and 3 likes for the things that I usually post is a really poor showing. People don't really care. People maybe engage with it if they're interested. Some of you signed up on this because you saw that post. But for the most part, like, it got no engagement. Remember, I have 5,000 people plus another 2,000 that are following me watching this. So I had an audience of 7,000 possibly. And I had such low engagement because selling doesn't work. Oh, I'm bouncing around there. Pardon me. I think that you need to, again, remind people what you do by showing and not selling. You're going to see a number of screenshots from my phone here. And first, you can see with the realtor and for sale by owner piece, I'm trying to be relevant with talking about things like Tiger King. By the way, that picture of Adam Levine, we took and put the Hatch Realty logo on him last year and posted that and had a huge amount of engagement with it. Again, we were funny, we were quick, and we were relevant. But I'm reminding people here by simply posting for sale by owner and realtor that I sell real estate. And then I checked into Hatch Realty. I'm showing people what I do, but I'm not selling to them. And the same is with this second post here about our team meeting last week when we wore costumes. I'm tagging people, I'm showing people what I do, but I'm not selling them. The mistake I see almost everybody making is that you're using your social media to sell. Use your social media instead to tell people about who's important in your world and how you're engaging with them. Jumping back here. This is a very awkward screenshot that I took. But I think that you have an opportunity to be the news when you're producing content. Right now, amidst the COVID-19 stuff and everything, I made a commitment that I'm going to go live on Facebook at least 1 time a week. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm giving market updates. And I don't get a huge amount of engagement, but I've now been reached out to by the news. And I appeared on the local news a week or 2 ago because of the content that I was putting out here. I'm actually getting really interesting engagement with other realtors as well, where they're asking questions or they're challenging some things, but we're creating conversations everywhere we go. By the way, and this is a side note, is I think that video is such a powerful tool, as well as photos. But if you're going to make a post, you should almost always have a photo or a video associated with it. Now, video should be no longer than 3 minutes in length if you can help it. Less is more, and people will tune out on such a high level on any of your social media stuff if you ramble on. This video I posted earlier today, I was about 4 minutes. I actually rambled on too long, and so I watch my stuff, I play it back, and like a football player watching game film, I'm watching to see if this is doing the right thing. If I'm communicating the way I should, if I'm getting the engagement that I want, and the way in which I value engagement are with shares and comments. Those are the things that I really pay attention to. I also think it's important to be fun and to be funny. I posted these both in the last couple of weeks. And you can see that we get some shares, we get some comments, we get lots of likes and laughs and that sort of thing. But it is a good thing. People, especially in a dark time like we may find ourselves in now, are looking for light and looking for laughter, and we get to provide that for them. If you're looking to produce great content, I promise you posting pictures of your pets and posting pictures of your kids will win the internet almost every time. You can see how cute my family is. You can see that I married up, and yet it is the best way for people to follow your life. And I want you to know and understand that social media is a place for you to be noticed and to be seen, not as a professional, rather as a person, as somebody who values the same things that others value. We did a class, and we will send out the link as well. I know Jess on my team is watching this to take notes. I'm isolated in the office here alone. But we did a class that we're going to send out to you with the link. We had a guy named Miles Montplaisir. He, again, is the You Betcha guy. And he talks about how there's these different things that we can do to create a high level of engagement. And one of the things that we can do is we can pull on some heartstrings. We can make great connections with people. We can, let me see, great question here. Is taking photos off the internet, such as the other ones, is that plagiarism? No, everything on the internet is stolen, unless you're the original contenter, and then you should put a watermark on that if that's important to you. Otherwise, steal away. Anyways, as we did this with Miles, and as we looked at his content, he talks about, there's 4 different key ways, and I'm not going to try to rip it off here because I'm going to hack at it. One of my favorite things, though, is just the emotional pull at heartstrings. And our ability to do that, as well as to shed light and positivity, is an important strategy to have. Anyways, let's get back to it here. I want you to see next up in producing great content it's important to create a conversation. In fact, my buddy Dave is on this webinar right now, and I stole this Joe Exotic post from him with this math. 370 comments, guys, and yet only 7 likes. You can't measure it by likes. Likes are just somebody patting you on the back. The point of social media is to create a conversation, to keep people coming back, to ask questions, and then for you to respond. In fact, if you're not responding to your stuff, if you're posting and just having everybody tell you how great you are, but you're not interacting with them and creating a conversation, I think you're selling yourself short. By the way, I'm not going to tell you the answer on that Joe Exotic one. It is in the post, so you can search my social media and find that. Instead, I want you to understand that your job should be to be engaged, and then to have a conversation with people. It is a fascinatingly important way to be consistent with this. I think my favorite way to use social media is to shine a light on others. In fact, I call it being the Chamber of Commerce. This first post, you can see my buddy Andrew Duncan. He's a realtor in Tampa. He posts a lot of billboards around his community, and he changed it to be Tiger King-esque. I thought that was just worthy of sharing because I wanted to pat my buddy on the back and say, good job, way to go. The second example is something that we at Hatch Realty have done now, I think 3 times. We call it it's an unsung hero contest. This unsung hero contest, as you can see in the details, is telling us that we want to highlight people that normally don't get the accolades that they're looking for. We want to bring to the attention of the world people that are worthy of sharing. Great stories, great engagement, great interaction. It is such a cool way to do that. The first time we did our Unsung Heroes contest, we had, I think, 400 or 500 people nominating folks. And what they do is they tag other people. And now we're getting more and more eyeballs on our stuff and more eyeballs on our stuff because I want to rewind the clock back and share with you that I said that I have 5,000 Facebook friends and 2,000 Facebook followers. But every time I tag one of you, I now have your audience watching me also. And that's how you continue to grow a bigger audience as you start tagging. When we did this Unsung Heroes thing, it was because we wanted to do good, but we also are strategic with our stuff. And we ended up adding about 1,000 followers to Hatch Realty's page from that one post. We gave away $500, which felt good and it felt right. But we redigested that content over and over again. It's added again over 1,000 likes. And my guess is most of you would pay 50 cents a like right now if you had the chance. There's a couple questions here I want to get to. If you have multiple social media platforms, is it better to share the same content or give different? Garrett, great question. I would say, I think that you need to be posting different content on different places. Some of it can be duplicated, but I think each medium, you're targeting a different audience. Instagram, I use Instagram almost primarily for stories. I don't use the main Instagram news feed very often because I spend almost all my time on stories. And you can't, I mean, Facebook has stories, but it sucks compared to Instagram, right? And so Instagram I use for stories. Facebook I use for my most active because we got almost 2.5 billion people on Facebook, and I'm going to be the most potent where that goes. I barely do LinkedIn. I'm building up my YouTube, and I haven't even started TikTok yet. So it's different content in different places. I hope that answered your question. And I answered that, so I can close out of that. Okay. Bouncing back here. When I'm the one-man show here, it takes me bouncing back a little bit. So thank you for understanding here. Let's take a look here. I think it's also important. This one has blown me away, guys. I can't believe it. I made this post that you see on the right hand of your screen. I made this on April 7th. That was 7 days ago. And I don't ever post anything political. In fact, I don't think Facebook is a place to post things politically. And I didn't even think this was a political post. I was so intentional with my language. I said, I don't want a stimulus check. I didn't say other people shouldn't have a stimulus check. I said, I don't want a stimulus check. I want my friends' businesses to survive. How many of you will share this? And you can see I screenshotted this at 9:14 this morning. And right before I got on this webinar, 30 minutes ago, I checked. And it's at 127,000 shares. I've never had anything go this viral in my life. And I saw that I was getting literally 100 to 200 friend requests a day for the last 3 days. It's a whole bunch of people I've never met. I have no common friends with them, but they are now following my content. They are subscribed to what I do. And I'm saying no to all of them, right? Like I'm not going to just say yes when I already have a full 5,000 friends that Facebook limits you at. But this one post, I think you should actually copy this post and share it. You don't need to share mine, like create your own. Share this exact same post and see what happens. My buddy Jason in New York was the originator of this, that at least I stole it from. He had over 3,700 shares. And so he said to a group of us, you should consider sharing it. And I did. What's interesting is I've received a few scathing messages, as you will, with almost anything. I've received some feedback that has been not positive, because if you're going to put yourself out there, you have to be willing to take a stance. And the only thing I'm willing to die over is my God. I don't like posting political things, and I don't even see this as a political post because the response is pretty simple. And I understood what my response would be before I ever posted it. The response is, if somebody has a job and they're getting supported by a small business, almost all businesses are small businesses. If you have employment through a small business, you won't need a stimulus check. And I want everybody to do well. And so I'm just trying to tend to the bigger issue. And yet I know there's still times in which we give support to those with stimulus checks. And so it's created a healthy conversation. It hasn't gone off the rails like I've seen so many of these things. But if you want to have some social media gold, literally post this and get in that. It's been a wild ride. Great question from Trisha. What kind of things would you post in an Instagram story versus the normal Instagram? I think your business page, Trisha, is for personal. I think you should show what you do, but it shouldn't be for selling. It's for telling, it's for storytelling. And that's what I like for Instagram stories, is that it is storytelling. It is usually video. It's shorter, it's engaging, and it moves quickly. I love Instagram stories for video. I do a weekly, and you can, if I turn the camera, you could see out here that we have a new building that's getting built in Fargo outside of my Hatch coaching office. And I will highlight that every week or two, so much so that people are commenting to me because I've just found a regular news story. And I'm not even talking, like I'm just being funny and stupid about the building. But what I'm doing is I'm being consistent with it. I found one thing to talk about and to go back to over and over and over again. And for me, that's what the building is. That's what my Instagram stories are. That's what bacon has been for me. Those of you that follow me on social media have seen me post about bacon a lot. And in fact, I've been branded as the bacon guy because I just posted about it regularly. My buddy Mark out of Minneapolis, who's on this webinar right now, has become branded and synonymous with being funny because he'd post 2 or 3 funny memes a day. And he's just been consistent with it. And that is a huge aha for all of you, hopefully, is that you can be consistent with your social media posting, with your social media branding. And so figure out what you want your brand to be. Trisha, I know you own a cleaning company. And so you, of course, can just post really funny things that you see, or you can post funny stories about what you do. People are going to be fascinated and will want to work with you if they think that you are engaging and if you're personable. They won't work with you because you're the best cleaner. They'll work with you because you're the best person. You see that? Because that's the same with real estate. That's the same with cleaning. That's the same with mortgage. That's the same with yoga. It doesn't matter. Is they're going to work with you because you are engaged in their life. You're funny and they feel like they know you, not your business, but you. Okay. That was my soapbox. How about that? Let's jump back here. We've covered 2 rules so far, rule number 3, and then we are wrapped. Again, if you have questions, fire them away and we'll try to jump to it as quick as we can. But rule number 3 is that you need to schedule your social media time. Remember, if you are on stage 1 or 2, your goal is to get to stage 2 or 3. If you're on stage 2 or 3, your goal is to get to stage 4 of high-level engagement with social media. The simple question is this: are you networking or not working? Most people use social media to not work. It is that escape for their mind. It is what they're going to scroll through to either get fired up or just to unwind, whatever it may be. My social media is all intentional time. I'm looking for things to steal. It's not plagiarizing unless it's watermarked. And then they were, of course, giving them credit. I'm looking for things to post. I'm looking for people to engage with. It is a constant conversation. The second thing you need to do is to time block daily and to create a calendar for success. I want you to understand that when I got started in my social media craze, I literally time blocked for it. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the noon hour, 30 minutes at the end of the day. That's an hour and a half. Now it's to a point where I will take any 5 or 10 minutes that I have and jump on social media to see what I can be doing to try to grow my business. What content can I be putting out there that has people laughing and engaged and thought-provoked and all those other things? I want to challenge you to see if your social media is one note. Maybe it's not even a note, but if it's one note, it's because you're putting out the same kind of stuff all the time. There is so much more stuff that I think you can be doing to create a harmony. That 80-20 rule matters and matters a lot. It is the way in which you can create this content and create this calendar. But I don't advise you that if you're not posting right now to all of a sudden post 3 or 4 times a day. It's just too much. If you're going to run a marathon and you've never ran before, don't start at 26 miles. You start at 1 mile and then 1.5 miles and 2 miles, and treat your social media calendar and content posting the same way. I never know what's going to stick. And so I threw a lot of things at the wall. If you would have told me I would have had 127,000 shares on one post, I probably would have watermarked it. I probably would have tagged something in there that I could follow along. I probably would have been a little more intentional with the curation of it. But I don't go for perfect on social media, and you shouldn't either. You should just go for action. Don't sit idly by and have inaction be your step. Instead, just start getting active, and you start with being engaged with other people. After you're engaged with other people, then it's moving to that next step. And that next step is, of course, to produce it, following the 80-20 rule. Know that selling is ineffective. Remind people of what you do. Be the news. Be fun and funny. Kids and animals win the internet. Create a conversation. Shine a light on others and be relevant and passionate, but not offensive. And finally, schedule your social media time. If you're a screenshotter or if you're taking notes, this is like the one slide that encapsulates everything that we covered. See, social media is a great escape, but for me, it's a great way to increase my wealth, increase my network, increase my world, and to do some great good. So, final call, any questions, any comments? I love compliments, so you can tell me that my eyes look dashing today. all those things. However I can bring some value to your life, let me know. So I'm going to stay on here for the next couple minutes. If you don't have anything else to gain, and if this was good for you, please tell others. My ask would be that you tag me on social media and say, Eric, thanks for the class, or thanks for this. It was really helpful. So if it was good, tell others. If there's improvements that we can do, please tell us. You can message us personally, and that's the way in which we want to grow and go. So with that, I'm going to sit here and see if anybody has some comments or questions, but otherwise, God bless you. Stay 6 feet away from everybody. Wash your hands and keep doing good. Paula Thompson, happy wedding anniversary. 36 is incredible. What a great gift that is. Katie Jo, besides Hootsuite, do you have any other programs that you recommend for streamlining? I have my marketing manager who uses Hootsuite. She controls all the content for our Hatch Realty page. And then I know Jess in my Hatch coaching world is using the same. So I don't have another example here. Trisha, do you think, she says, do you think that the post about the stimulus check would be inappropriate for a business page? I like posting almost everything off a personal page. I think your personal page is more powerful than your business page. I think that you're going to get some feedback from people. Maybe the first comment you should do is to explain your thoughts on it. And that was a mistake that I made. I should have immediately said, I'm not saying people shouldn't get stimulus checks. And instead, I think, I don't think I think that some people should get stimulus checks. I think that if you can support a business and keep it healthy, it keeps those people employed. So the stimulus checks aren't necessary. That should have been my comment. And the first thing, it shouldn't be in the original post that people see, but it should be the first comment. And that's where I fell short. And so if you're going to do that, I would say just hedge your bet and cover your butt a little bit. Barbara has a question. What about creating a weekly exchange live with an industry vendor, go live with a mortgage broker or contractor? I love highlighting other businesses. That again falls into the Chamber of Commerce idea. So I love where your head is at. I would challenge you just a moment though and say, you got to keep videos to 3 or 4 minutes. Don't go longer than that. And most people in those industries are usually a little bit dry. Your job is to not just put out content, but to tell a story. So don't have it simply to be, here's the information about this mortgage company, but instead together tell a story to make that more engaging. All right, scrolling up. Well, we're getting lots of questions. This is great. Whitney asks, how do you use the 80-20 rule for a company page when you're the face of the company? In your business page, you have permission to talk more about business. But posting about here's our latest listing, or here's an open house, or here's our class schedule, or whatever it may be, that has to happen to tell people who you are and what you do. You have permission to do that more. But we do a whole lot of engagement on the Hatch Realty page that has proven to be our most captivating for people. We'll do trivia. We will engage in dancing, which is very TikTok-esque. I know somebody commented on that earlier, and that's what we're going to use TikTok for originally, is to just show us dancing. We'll highlight lifestyle of the people that we live with. We'll highlight our team members. Again, Chamber of Commerce-esque, shining the light on people. But you do have permission to veer off the 80-20 rule, but please don't switch it to a 20-80. Like 20% personal and lifestyle and 80% business. People won't follow that, Whitney. People don't care about your business very much. They care about who you are. You just have permission on your business page to show a little more. Jess, thanks for talking about the platform later. That is an awesome, cool online program. And Jess is our marketing director for Hatch Coaching. Wendy, who is my godmother, actually. Wendy, so cool to have you on here, using Instagram for her portfolio as an interior design firm. Wendy, I think it's okay to be funny and to change it up a little bit and see and test it, right? Don't be afraid to throw things against the wall on Instagram or Facebook and see what kind of engagement you get. Miles Montplaisir, the You Betcha guy, has tested a lot of different things, and it actually took him a long time to find his voice. And I would challenge you, Wendy, your content is good, but I'm not sure you have your full voice yet, because I know you're funny, because I know you're engaging. And if all I see are portfolio pictures, I don't know the heartbeat of your company. And so there's an opportunity to amp that up and to do more. Hope that makes sense. Katie Jo says, in the 80-20 rule, do you ever feel the need to post multiple sold posts in real estate to remind people that you're hustling? If I'm posting sold pictures, I am taking a picture of a client holding a sold sign and telling their story. See, I'm shining a light on them, reminding my world of what we do, but I'm not saying, here's our most recent sold houses. I'm celebrating people, not transactions. I hope you see that, that difference. Trisha says she has 10,000 followers on her page. That is really big, first of all. Getting to 10,000 is a hard feat. And a lot of them enjoy all the random stuff she posts. What do you think about posting pictures or funny stories about her personal family? I think that's perfectly engaging. Again, Trisha, people work with you because you're awesome, not because you're great at cleaning. I want you to understand that, like, cleaning comes secondary. I posted a Facebook question out there a while ago, and I said, realtors, you can't answer this. But I said, those of you that aren't realtors, I want you to answer this question of what's most important to you when hiring somebody to sell your house. Number one, that you work with the most award-winning recognized realtor in your area. Number two, that you work with a realtor that has a proven track record to get you the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And number three, you work with somebody who's going to treat you as though you're their only client, giving you exemplary service. Nobody, I had over 100 people respond. Nobody said number one. Nobody said that working with the most award-winning or recognizable person mattered. About 15% of people said number two, the most amount of money in the least amount of time. About 85% of people said the thing that mattered was feeling as though they were the only client and they got exemplary service. At the core of that is one key word, and that key word is relationship. The reason why my social media has been so effective is because people feel like they're in a relationship with me. So much so that my wife was at the grocery store with my daughter Finley in the cart, and somebody came up and they're like, oh my gosh, Finley, how are you? And my wife had no idea who they were. Like, it's gotten to such a point where Finley is Fargo famous because she's just been regular on my social media, and people feel like they know my family, even though they've never met me before. And that's the point when you get to a really high level at social media, and when you're posting about your own family and these funny stories and all these other things, is that people can feel like they know you. And if they know you, your network has grown exponentially, and you're at a point now where business comes to you instead of you chasing it. So hope that answered your question. Next, where does posting client reviews fall in the 80% rule? Visually, they can be very engaging, but a lot of people who aren't seriously looking into buying and selling probably won't be as engaged with them. Boy, posting reviews falls in the 20%, not the 80%. It falls in the reminding people of what you do and that you're awesome. But I like posting a review about Kyle on my team more than I like posting a review about me. Here's one of the big keys of all things social media, and in fact, I should have had this as a point, is that it is far better to be a third-party endorser rather than being a first-party promoter. First-person promoter. If I'm promoting myself in the first person, saying that I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome, and depending on where you're at in your stage of business, you have to do that. But if that's the only message you're putting out, it's gross. The goal of social media is to become a third-party endorser of other people because they will be endorsers of you. And so your business page, Katie Jo, you can post those reviews on your business page and get away with it. But if you post on your personal page every day and half your content are the great reviews that you've received, your audience hates you because the content that you're providing them is self-serving and not serving others. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, so your marketer is posting those on your business page, and that's good. You don't need to do it all the time. What's powerful is when the team leader or another team member promotes another person on their team. That is such an important thing. I hope that you take this and you start the next Facebook post you do, you can say, and it'd be super cool if you're like, hey, Eric did this great class and he looked dashing today in that coral. You could say that, which is super cool. But I'd even rather have you say, let me tell you about why I love working with Tony on my team. Tony has been an incredible asset, and he's so fun. And like, you have to give specificity when you post. You can't just say Tony's super cool. You need to say, here's all the reasons why Tony is awesome. Whether it's reviews or shining a light or anything else, it is massively valuable. And with that, this gets me on fire. I hope this was valuable for you. It looks like there's no more questions. We'll be sending out this video for those of you that are watching live. For those of you that are watching the recording, we'd love to hear from you or see you post and get a little more engaged on social media. For now, I need to go work on my TikTok dances. It's going to be great. So God bless you. Have a beautiful day. And I think we're all done.